Hey there, and welcome to the UkeStuff channel, and welcome to this full UkeGuide review of the Hola Music HM-124MG Plus. It's their sort of entry-level mahogany laminate ukulele that comes with a kit with a lightly padded gig bag, a strap, and some picks. Now, with these reviews, they are rather lengthy, so there are chapters both at the bottom of the screen here that you can jump to things that you want to see, and there are also those same chapters in the description below if you want to jump to those parts. I do want to thank Hola Music for sending this instrument to review. I did contact them, and they were kind enough to honor that request. So far, I've been pretty pleased at what I'm seeing, and I hope you'll stick through the rest of the video to see what it's all about. Now, in these reviews, I do three things. First of all, we look at subjective issues about the instrument. Then we look at objective data about the instrument, basically the specifications. And then I come back with a subjective summary. And then I also, in that summary, include what I call a UkeGuide rating out of 5 ukuleles. And again, you can jump ahead to any part that interests you in this video. So let's start with the subjective issues, and the first issue is price. Price may not seem subjective, but it really is, as price can go up and down over time. When this video is being filmed in September of 2020, this model is currently selling for $64.95. You can sometimes find a little bit cheaper with a automatic Amazon discount. Sometimes it might go up a little bit, but that's generally the price. It's around $65. Now, its value overall is really pretty decent with one exception, and I'll get into that. You do get strap buttons on it. As I've already mentioned, you get this strap and some picks that are in there. I don't, again, understand why companies include the picks. And you get a 3 to 5 millimeter padded gig bag. That isn't a bad gig bag at all. Its coloring looks very much like a flight gig bag, but it says Hola Music on it. And with that, that's your kit. That's what you get. Now, the one glaring absence is a tuner in this day and age. Most companies at this price point also include a tuner. So remember, if you buy this ukulele and you like it, you're probably also going to have to add in the cost of a clip-on tuner of some kind for the instrument. Overall, the build quality of this instrument is very good. There are only a couple of issues that I had. First of all, there were sharp fret ends on the neck when I got it that I had to sand down. Incidentally, if you have to sand down the frets on a fretboard and it's not an expensive ukulele, one of the easiest things you can do is to put masking tape over the edge of the entire fretboard, go onto the body so you don't scratch the body, and then get a sanding block, such as a fine sanding block from your local hardware store, and just sand that corner down at a 45-degree angle and sand right through the tape to the frets. And when you're done, the masking tape will peel off and your frets will be smooth. And if they're not smooth yet, you'll know that by running your finger up and down, sand it a little more. It's easy enough to fix, but a lot of new players won't know that. So the only other thing that bothers me about that is that this ukulele is bound. Do you see the color there of that wood? That's a different type of wood or different finish than the rest of the fretboard. The whole idea of a bound fretboard is that frets don't stick out past you, so I'm not quite sure what's going on there. That bound fretboard should keep those fret ends from popping through, but they definitely did need to be sanded a little. The only other quality issue that I have, and this is so minuscule, I mentioned this on the 1-minute review, is right there at the back. If you take a look, there's a problem with the binding where it doesn't quite seal. You can't feel it. I mean, you can feel the groove where the neck meets the body, but you can't feel that in the ABS, but you see that. Now, most of the time, that's going to be away from you, and you're not going to pay attention to it. And quite honestly, would I send this ukulele back because of that? No, I wouldn't even send this ukulele back because of the fret ends. I would just deal with both of those and be happy with it. But there's somebody out there who's going to buy an ukulele and wants it to be absolutely perfect, even at the $65 range, that could potentially send it back for something like that. So I just need to mention that to you. Now, one of the things I like to do is I like to also look inside the ukulele and let you see what's going on in there. So let's take a look at the internal Uke Cam. All right, let's take a look at the Hola Music HM-124MG Plus. Let's go take a look. right. Now let's first of all just take a look at the back. You can see the notch kerfing. There isn't very much glue mess at all. You can see that it has a tailpiece on the bottom. You can see the braces on the bottom there. And as we look up, you can see the bridge plate where the screws come through. You can see the two vertical supports right there. And of course the horizontal support right underneath the sound hole. So that's the inside look of the instrument at the lower bout. Let's take a look at the upper bout. Looking at one side here, really nice and clean build on the inside, very little glue mess, traditionally made. You see the laminate. There's the neck block, and really just all in all, a nice clean build on a lower price ukulele. That's our inside look at the Hola ukuleles HM-124MG Plus. So we're back from that little journey inside the ukulele, and one of the things I can tell you is that that's one of the cleanest builds I've seen. Almost no glue mess at all, very nicely put together, very traditionally built. There's nothing wrong there. That's a nice, clean build at a $65 price point, and that's really commendable. Now let's talk about the appearance. First of all, it's sort of a lighter mahogany stain. You can see it's nicely book matched on the back. It's got a nice pattern to it. There's nothing wrong with it. It's not flashy, and quite honestly, if you want flashy, Hola Music sells these with colors, and actually that would probably appeal even more to me than this model, because a mahogany ukulele, there are a dime a dozen out there right now. There are, how many companies selling a very similar package to this at a similar price point? And for about $5 more, you can get one of the various other colors with that same pattern, and they're pretty cool. So basically, if you want something a little more flashy, look at one of those color models. It's going to be generally the same laminate. It's just going to be stained differently. It's going to be built the same, and I think you might be very happy with it if this doesn't really appeal to you. Now, if this does appeal to you, a sort of a classical build, then by all means, there's nothing wrong with this either. There is an engraved sound hole there. You can see that there. There is ABS binding on the top and the bottom. And one of the interesting things is that there is no purfling. A purfling is that either little line or multiple lines after the binding. There's no purfling there, but there is a line of purfling both on the bottom of the ABS there and the bottom of the ABS going that way. So it's ABS, then purfling going to the body. That's kind of an interesting design cue, and most companies would probably put that binding on the other side. So it's kind of interesting to see that. That's one slight difference that you won't see everywhere. There are branded tuners. If I get in the right light, you can actually see that it says Hola with the exclamation mark. So ultimately, it's kind of plain, but at the same time, there's nothing wrong with that. And if you want more flashy, there's the color models. Now, can I be ultra picky? I like the logo, the inlay of the logo. It looks good there with that different type of headstock. But as a teacher that teaches at a Spanish immersion school, and as a person that speaks Spanish, I wish that the upside down exclamation mark was there in front of the Hola as well, because that is how it would normally appear. Now, I realize this is probably more likely for American audiences that may not speak Spanish and may not understand why you'd have an upside down exclamation mark, but since you're using the Spanish word, I'd love to see that anyway. But that's being ultra picky, but otherwise, it's kind of neat. And as I take this one to school occasionally, my students will definitely get a kick out of the fact that it says Hola to them. Now, in terms of availability, I do believe that the only place you can buy these instruments is Amazon. And I want to talk about that for a moment because I've seen Hola music out there for a long time. I have a friend in the music technology world who I haven't talked to recently, but they were assigned elementary music long before I was, and they asked me what ukuleles they should buy, and I gave them some ideas, and they bought an Hola music, and I was like, I don't know what that is. And that was a long time ago. Well, I can tell you now that that purchase probably wasn't a bad idea. There is, again, nothing functionally wrong with this ukulele at all. It's a very nice, safe buy. So that in mind, I've seen these on Amazon forever and wondered about them. And one of the things that I can tell you right now is that if you buy one of these, you're not making a bad choice. And we'll get to that in the summary. But as we talk about its availability on Amazon alone and the fact that it's often an Amazon bestseller or an Amazon choice, you might wonder about whether or not this really functions as an instrument, and it does far more than that. Now, in terms of playability, overall, it's a typical concert ukulele with a 35 millimeter nut. Its spacing is pretty average. The nut width is pretty average. The negative was sharp fret ends to have to deal with. And the C-shaped neck is pretty standard, maybe a slight amount thicker than normal, but it's very comfortable to play once you get rid of the sharp fret ends, and there's nothing bad there. The one thing that they do really well is the action was nice and low at the first fret and also low at the 12th fret, which makes this really easy to play. So in some cases, I would say that this instrument may be even better for a beginner than some of the others at the price range just because of that setup. Now again, that's this particular instrument. It doesn't mean that every instrument is set up that way, but again, if I'm getting one by chance and it's set up that well, you're probably going to get one too. So in overall playability, it's better than average, mainly because of the action. Now let's talk about the sound quality of the instrument. I like it. I like it a lot. Now, unlike some other reviewers, unlike some other channels, I tend to like instruments that I hear a lot of high frequency ringing with. And this one definitely has that. It's not missing any depth, but a lot of times laminated instruments can be tubby and sound dark. This one carries nice and bright, but it may also have to do with the strings. Now, here's a weird part about this instrument. It came with a label saying that it has Aquila strings. The explanation on Amazon says that it comes with Aquila strings, Super Nylgut. These are not Super Nylgut strings. They're not white. I'm not sure what they are, but what I can tell you is that I think they do more for this instrument than the Aquilas would. So I'm not upset that these aren't Aquila Super Nylgut strings. That doesn't bother me at all. If you watch this channel, you know generally I like fluorocarbon strings. So if this was going to be my instrument forever, I would definitely take Aquila strings off of it and put on fluorocarbons of some kind. Well, in this case, I don't have to do that because it is something. Now, they could be clear nylon. They could be fluorocarbon. I'm not sure what they are, but they work well for the instrument. So as a result, you have a nice, bright tone with some overtones and really decent sustain for a laminate instrument. There are a lot of laminates that I have that, I mean, they're okay sustain. This is above average. And it finally stopped. I mean, that is really pretty exceptional. I like that part of this instrument. So in terms of volume, it's not the loudest. That's hitting it as loud as I can. You won't get lost in a group. It's not super loud. It's not on the edge of being Koaloha loud, but at the same time, it's not a quiet instrument, and it's very present, and I can really hear that harmonic sticking out. It's an E that's really popping out when I play. The tone, again, isn't overly dark. It's more on the bright side, but it really appeals to me. Now, if you're a person that hates bright-sounding ukuleles, this is not going to be the choice for you. But if you like a bright, ringy, clear sound, that's what this one seems to offer to me, even as a laminate, which makes me like it even more. So one of the things I like to do is I like to use the app Tonal Energy Tuner to take a look at what's happening with the harmonic energy of the song. You can hear the initial strum, you can see what notes are activated, and then what is sustained. And what that really does is allows you to see what's happening with the instrument and not just take my word for it. So let's take a look at this instrument on Tonal Energy Tuner. I'm playing the C chord as I do always, or if I'm playing a baritone, that's the G chord, just one finger chords so that we have a nice aligned chord. And let's see what's happening. Here's the C chord. Again. Now, if you're taking a look at that data, it really shows that in this case, the C is really ringing for a very, very long time. The C4, or the root note of that chord. Now, I hear the E popping out occasionally when I'm playing, but again, just playing the C chord, that's what was happening with this instrument. So that summarizes the subjective issues that I look at. Let's take a look at the objective data for this instrument, or the specifications. It is a concert instrument with a scale length of 14.875 inches from nut to saddle, which is slightly smaller than usual for a concert. Concert is generally aiming 15, but again, 14.875 is not far off of that. There are 18 frets with 14 of them to the body. It does have side position markers with a double dot at the 12th, and of course it does have front markers as well. The body style is a double bout body. That's pretty traditional. The soundboard is laminate mahogany, as are the back and sides. They are connected with an ABS binding. The fretboard is walnut, and it has a binding as well on there. The bridge is walnut as well, and it is a slotted bridge, making it easy for string changes. The fretboard is not radius, it's just a normal flat fretboard, which is pretty much standard for the case. Now, in a matter of discussion, the online description says that it is a bone, nut, and saddle. That is what I'm going to go with for now, although it's really hard for me to tell ultimately. But what I can tell you is that the saddle here is compensated. The finish is a satin finish, as generally you'd expect. It's 24 inches from tip to tail and weighs 1 pound, 1.5 ounces, and it's pretty well balanced. It has Hola branded geared tuners that we talked about earlier in this video. The action at the first fret is less than 0.5 millimeters, and the action at the 12th fret is 2.25 millimeters. That's nice and low. Very good action for a beginning player. The nut width is 34.80 millimeters, and the spacing between the strings at the first fret is 8.91 millimeters, 29.18 millimeters G to A, which is pretty standard on a 35 millimeter nut. The depth of the instrument from the top of the strings to the bottom of the neck is 22.30 millimeters. That's maybe a millimeter bigger, and again, millimeters are pretty small, right? So ultimately, the difference isn't that great. It feels like most C-shape import ukulele necks that you're going to play. Now let's summarize the instrument. Again, I've seen Hola music for a long time and never had a chance to play one or see one, and I'm very thankful for this chance to check one out. Ultimately, they're advertised a lot on Amazon. You see them a lot. That's how you can buy these. And there's always the question of, is this going to be a good instrument? Ultimately, I think it's a really solid offering for a beginning player. It sounds really good. It's easy to play. And yeah, the problems that I saw were really easily taken care of or minuscule. And again, those issues were sharp fret ends or that little spot with the binding in the back. And again, that's not something that actually is ever going to cause a problem. You just see that separation at the top. So with that in mind, there's almost nothing wrong with this instrument, and it's built really well. And if you want to criticize it, the only other thing you can say is that it doesn't involve a tuner with the pack of stuff that you get, and tuners are inexpensive enough anyway, but still, the competitors are including it. It's probably worth mentioning that there are better bags on the market, but here's the deal. How much better of a bag do you need for the type of instrument that it is? For a $65 ukulele, is this bag adequate to protect it and to store it and to carry it around? Yes. Is this bag going to protect it from any more damage than any other gig bag? Probably not. I mean, if you had a super padded one, like a 15 or 20 millimeter padded bag, maybe. But otherwise, you know what? That's good enough too. Now, do we all like a nicer bag? Sure. But ultimately, will this do the trick? Absolutely. So I'm really not bothered by that at all. The only other things I'd mention quickly are, again, that this same instrument is offered in colors that might pop more or be more interesting to you than the standard mahogany. But as it stands, it's a nice ukulele. It's a good ukulele at a good price from a company that you might not know or might question just because you haven't heard of it. And quite honestly, it's definitely recommended. So I rate ukuleles on a scale of 0 to 5 ukuleles. And I would rate the Hola Music HM-124MG Plus as a 4 out of 5. And that's with great confidence in the instrument as well. Definitely something that I would recommend to you. Now, again, what would keep it from getting a full 5? The sharp fret ends with the bound edge. That just concerned me a little bit because that's awkward. Again, the bound edge should not allow there to be sharp fret ends at all. Second would be the fact that the bag, although it's totally serviceable, doesn't match some of the others in the same price point. Third, you're going to have to buy a clip-on tuner that isn't included in the package. And really, all three of those are pretty minimal things that are easily corrected. However, a brand new player might not know how to deal with those sharp fret ends and therefore suffer for a while with that. So hopefully not. Hopefully they'll watch the video, learn how to fix it, and be on their merry way. All right, thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you to Hola Music for sending this instrument for review. I hope you're having a great day. And as always, I will be back soon with some more Uke stuff for you.